Joined. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Seth Paskin, and I'm the host for this webinar series. We started this at the beginning of, back in July rather. We're trying to do a bi-weekly half-hour best practices sharing seminar for our customers, our partners, and our own internal teams led by our Platinum Engineering team, our tech marketing team, of which I am the leader, and also pre-sales and other functions inside of BMC. So if you go to communities where you get the invite for this particular meeting, you'll see the other events that we've done in the past, as well as upcoming events in the upcoming calendar, and that is updated as we get more information and more topics on the calendar. All right, so for this session this week, our presenter is Sumeet Hemnani. Sumeet has been at BMC for around a decade. He's extremely well-versed in multiple solutions. Today he's going to be focusing on leveraging smart groups in TrueSight Server Automation, which used to be called BladeLogic Server Automation, for those of you who are maybe confused about the naming convention. So Sumeet's going to just go through a couple slides talking about the importance of smart groups, set up the demo, and then spend the rest of the time on demo. Please, microphones are muted, so if you would like to ask a question, please post it in the chat, and we will address it either during his presentation, but we will also have time for Q&A afterwards. And with that, Sumeet, why don't you take it away?
Thank you, Seth. Hello, everyone. My name is Sumeet Hemnani, and as you know, I'm in technical marketing. Today we are going to talk about how we can leverage smart groups in TrueSight Server Automation. So in this short webinar, we'll start with what are smart groups, what are the different artifacts, type of artifacts in which we can create smart groups on. We're also going to talk about some customer use cases and go through some issues customer face while using smart groups. We'll also have some short demos of those use cases that we're going to discuss. And let's begin with, what are smart groups? So smart groups are groups which are automatically created based on certain conditions. For example, there are conditions like server properties, patch impacts, or any of the custom properties that you can create for various things like servers, for your patch catalogs and things like that. So those server properties can automatically, you can create conditions on them, and then the smart groups will automatically get created. And members of a smart group must satisfy the condition. So you cannot have a smart group which has members which don't satisfy the condition. So it has to satisfy the condition. It has to meet the qualification before it can be added in a smart group. And smart groups are dynamic in nature, so it's not like we're going to change anything. It is automatically changing. So servers are going to add and remove from a smart group without you doing anything, because you might just be modifying the properties of the server, but those things might change the membership of the smart groups automatically. So these are a bit more dynamic in nature as we move along. So with this, we're jumping to what are the different types of smart groups. A smart group can be created on component template, components. You can create a smart group on a depot, which is a particular patch catalog, which has got some interesting use cases. You can do it on devices, which are bare metal devices, or you can do it on jobs, maybe create a smart group for teams. And specifically, smart groups are also used with servers. We use it with servers to do better organization. We use it to servers to filter out the noise that is there on all the servers that are there within BSA. Now, smart groups, you can also create smart groups on the subfolders. So if you have some certain folders that you create within all these top-level folders, you can also create some subfolders, and you can create smart groups within those subfolders. So it is not that you can do it only at the top level, but also within some other folders as well. And then within servers, we can create smart groups within smart groups. We call those in some places we call them as nested smart groups, or smart group within a smart group. these have special things like you can have a root condition, and based on that condition you'll have a smart group that is created, and then you can create another smart group inside it which has another condition. But when you look at the smart group which is inside the smart group, you will see that it is an intersection of the two. So that is the basic difference between having you can create a smart group within a smart group, as we call it. So smart group actually has two main UI screens. One of them is the properties UI. This is the one which will mainly be concentrating on. And this properties UI has the name, the description, and which type of a smart group, and which folder it belongs to. Those are the things that are there. But the most important section here is the condition section. This is the meat of the smart group. This is where smart groups are created. So if you properly put in the conditions, the smart groups will be automatically created based on that. The second is the permission screens that we have. This is connected to the rollback access control within server automation. Now there are system authorization things like create, delete, modify. You can have read and write, and you also have the ability to delete and modify ACLs within these smart groups. And these are special conditions. So there is a particular section which has all the conditions that can be used. So these permissions you can use to better organize who can create smart groups, who can delete smart groups, who can modify them. And you can use these permissions to actually assign them to the proper users. So it's mostly about how you can control these smart groups with an RBAC. So with this, we'll actually move forward to some of the places where you should be thinking about leveraging smart group. One of the places where you should think about leveraging smart group is the patch analysis. We've seen some customers facing issues wherein customers try to run patch analysis from their entire catalog against all their servers. But their actual compliance policy might be quite different from what they want to learn. And this is where we can actually leverage smart groups, and we'll be going through one of the use cases in our demo wherein we'll discuss how we can use it. The other place where we have is smart group must be used as targets within jobs. So basically this is about trying to understand that instead of modifying the jobs again and again, it is much more easier to create a smart group and put it in the job, and then modify the properties that are that create the smart group, so that you don't have to modify the jobs again and again, and you can use the smart group as one of the parameters that remain constant in the job. And this is actually very highly recommended for snapshot job. A common mistake that actually happens in the field is sometimes people edit the snapshot job and add and remove servers from the snapshot job. So what happens within BSA is that the version number actually of the job changes. And when that happens, it causes that the next time the snapshot job runs, it will take a full snapshot of all the servers instead of only taking the incremental snapshot, because the version number has changed. It doesn't know what exactly is different, so it's going to take a full snapshot. To avoid this scenario, you should actually think about creating smart groups and adding to these kinds of jobs, because what will happen is it will identify which the new servers are and only take full snapshot of the new servers rather than the old ones. And it will take only the incremental snapshot of the old servers. So it is highly recommended to use smart groups as targets for snapshot jobs. And the other reason why you would actually use smart groups is to organize the workspaces and do some ad hoc filtering as well. With this, we'll just jump into a couple of demos wherein we'll discuss a few use cases and go through this these scenarios and see how we can use smart groups. So let me share my screen. I hope you can see my screen now. Okay, I think there's no one complaining, so it must be on.
Yes, I can see you.
Yeah, we can see you.
So one of the issues that we face with patch catalogs is, customers create a patch catalog and they try to analyze, analyze the servers based on these patch catalogs. And they try to do this in, they always find vulnerabilities because the policy might be only to look into the important or the critical patches, but customers, don't configure the patch catalogs to do that. They download all the patches relevant to particular servers or particular OS versions, and they don't really understand how the patch catalog works. And this is where creating a smart group on top of a patch catalog actually helps a lot. In this case, we can create a smart group wherein we can say, we want to create a smart group for a use case wherein we want to say, this smart group is only for all the important and critical patches that we have within the system. So we create important and critical patches, but the compliance issue is that it should be within 30 days. So that means we only want to identify servers which are out of compliance, that, we want that these servers should patch within 30 days. So anything that has important and critical patches older than 30 days, we can just put it in the system that, we want to create a smart group for this. So all the patches that are older than 30 days would be collected inside this particular smart group, and you can actually run the analysis on this smart group instead of, trying to run the analysis on the entire patch catalog. So for this, what we'll do is we'll go to the Windows bulletin, we'll look at the vendor impact. So in this case, our vendor impact should be either critical or we'll add another vendor impact wherein the vendor impact should be important. So these are the important and critical patches. This is what we want to classify. And once we do that, we also want to make sure that all these patches are at least 30 days old. I mean, it's older than 30 days that you have. So there is something called as, date posted. This is the date when the patches were actually posted. And you can actually go down and look at the older than days versions where you can put in, 30 days. So all the patches that have, that have been posted more than 30 days will be collected in this particular smart group. And also, one other thing we'll need to do is highlight this and create a parenthesis because because it needs to understand that it's critical or important and this. So the next thing is the screens, and once we do that, it collects all these patches which are older than 30 days, which have been released for more than 30 days, and this was 2017. But as you can see, it collects a lot of patches, and we can then run an analysis job based on these patches. So we can pick up a server, run a particular analysis job based on not the product catalog itself, but a very specific smart group which only has the patches which are relevant to the organization. Now, this is very useful for compliance because some customers, they don't get time to try to resolve the, the low priority patches. They only have, enough time in their patching window to remediate the important and critical ones. And, they might have different timelines for patching the low priority one. So this is where, it becomes very important to create something like this. The other use case which we wanted to show same in the patching catalog was trying to identify patching catalogs based on, existing vulnerabilities or vulnerabilities which are, which are known that they're going to come out and, which are causing impact with other organizations. So, for example, we've got the Meltdown and Spectre vulnerabilities that have come out. We've got the WannaCry vulnerabilities that have come out. And, what if someone in the management comes out and tells you, we want an analysis of, how many servers are patched or how many servers we need to patch for WannaCry, for example. So we can actually create something like, a very specific type of a smart group wherein we can say, this is about WannaCry vulnerabilities. So we can say, WannaCry patching. And we can actually create a smart group for WannaCry wherein we can say, let's say, because we already, it depends on what information you have. You might have CVE IDs, you might have Microsoft Bulletin numbers, or you might have RHEL numbers. You may also have, IAVA IDs. So there are different kinds of things that you can, use to classify it. In this case, because we've got the Microsoft IDs, Bulletin IDs, we can either use the name or we can use the Bulletin IDs, whatever we want. In this case, we'll be just using the name, and we can identify, what name and which patch we need for this. So for the WannaCry vulnerability, the first patch that came out was the MS-17. But as Microsoft, started releasing these patches, they kept on adding more and more patches into the mix. So there are other patches that are also there within the system. One of them is the MS-17 patch that came out later on. And then there was another patch that recently was released by Microsoft in the month of January. So Microsoft actually tries to put cumulative patches. So there might be other patch numbers which will be there. But you can actually create something like a smart group here wherein these things, when you create, you can specify that this is for the WannaCry vulnerability, and then you can run this as a patch analysis job. So it will collect all these patches right here. And let's refresh this. And you can see that, these are the 3 patches that collected them, and now you can run a patch analysis job. So that is how you can run this. Now, I'll quickly switch into another demo which I wanted to show you. This other one is about, creating a nested group. So for creating nested group, the first thing is that you at least need to have the first smart group, wherein I'm going to create a very simple one which has, all Windows servers inside it. And we can just assign, which type, whether it's a server, then not based on name, we'll just go based on the OS, which type of server it is. So if it is a Windows one, we'll go with Windows. So we'll just select, the OS, which equals to Windows. So what it will do is this will collect all the Windows servers that are there within the system. And with nested smart groups, or what we call smart group within a smart group, we can also create the other thing inside it, which is like, let me say, find out all the production servers. So if we have a custom property called as environment, we can actually use those custom properties to create, further streamline the smart group. Now this can be used for, maybe jobs. This can be used for just organizing the system. But there are various use cases where you can use this within the system. And what you can actually do is, these are production servers, so you can just say production. And it will not find any of the Red Hat Linux servers or Solaris servers. It will only do it for Windows servers. So this is where the nested smart groups come in play, wherein they're actually much more useful because you don't have to copy the conditions from the upper one. You just have to use this. And you can actually copy this for other things as well. So if you want production, you can also do QA servers. So you can just copy the smart group and make the modifications as you want. And you can say QA. So the QA servers would also be added. So you can make these changes within the system, and is much more easy to see, and you can see that the smart group got generated pretty quickly. Now, one other use case which I wanted to discuss was that you have the ability of creating these smart groups, which is all in good, but you can also create smart groups with custom properties, as we had already shown. But these properties are not required to be manually added to the system. So we can actually try to extract that information from the server itself. So for example, we've set up time zones in all our servers, and one of our customers had this issue wherein they wanted, different types of jobs, different maintenance windows for different time zones. And for that, we actually gave them a script wherein you can create a custom property called a time zone, and then you can run a script which can extract the time zone from all the servers, and this script would then populate the time zone field. So once that time zone field is populated, you can then create a smart group on top of it, which would be like, I want to create a smart group on a particular property wherein I have a time zone property, and I can use these, these variables which are there within BSA, these properties which are there within BSA, and then extract that information from the server and then reuse it in a smart group. So we can say, all servers in the US EST time zone, and we can actually create this within the system. So this is, these are some of the use cases that we have for time zones. For smart groups, and one of them is time zones. This is something wherein we can extract the servers and find the time zone of a particular server and put that information into the system. So going back to our presentation, we've got a couple of videos that you can go through to actually look at how you can classify servers efficiently, how you can create smart groups. We'll also be uploading this recording, and this deck will be posted on the communities page. Now, I would like to have some time for question and answers. If you have any questions or anything that you need us and you need answers based on what you've seen today, or if you have any questions in general with smart groups, please let us know and we can move forward with this.
Thank you, Sumeet. Yeah, so we're open now. We've got plenty of time for Q&A, or if people have their own best practices, some of the things they've done, some insights they want to share, and I welcome input from anyone. You can do it through the chat window, and you should be able to unmute your microphone. If not, please let me know, and I will be...
The presenter has allowed participants to unmute themselves. You can now unmute yourself by pressing *6.
Any questions for Sumeet? Any suggestions? You can't be that shy. I know some of the BMC folks on the call are hardly wallflowers. Okay. Well, if we don't have any questions either via audio or through the chat window, we can go ahead and close it out. So as Sumeet said, oh, here we go.
Were you going to talk about BL content or how that can be used to build out multiple smart groups quickly, or how customers will use those for grouping servers for patching? Or is this kind of intro to smart groups?
Yeah, actually, there is the BL content which is there, which has certain smart groups inside it, which you can run and upload it here. But we can add those details in the communities page, or if you have any insights on that, you can add it here as well.
Sure. Yeah, the main thing we use BL content for in new implementations is building out a bunch of example smart groups. And my favorite thing about it is that it ships with a lot of good best practice smart groups that get you started and productive quickly.
Okay.
And of course, customers can create smart groups in bulk via the APIs, and there are a number of example scripts out on communities that will help you. If you want to build out things to match your current org structure or something similar, that can be pretty helpful.
That's a great point, Sean. What I'll do is make sure I'll update the event page as well as and link back to the recording, then highlight the link to the BL content doc on our documents page, and give people an example of how they can search communities with tags to find relevant pre-built content that they can use.
Great.
Thank you, Sean.
Yeah. So any other questions, comments, suggestions, experiences that somebody wants to share, the tips and tricks?
Enumerated conditions, enumerated lists can be relatively expensive. They're not as expensive as they used to be, but if you're going to use a bunch of them, there were some defects in older versions of Blade. I believe most of those should be fixed now, but it's not super common for customers to use more than 6 or 8 conditions, for example. And that'd be the other thing I'd add in on this. Sometimes in the absence of talking to anybody else, we'll see customers go out and build server smart groups that have 12 or 15 conditions. That tends to lead to interesting things in the sense that interesting things that you don't want to. In order to avoid that, you can use the starts with conditions, for example, and you can also use contains and other type filters. One challenge we see customers run into a lot with server smart groups is if they've got 15 different values for prod or PRD or production, for example, for the server environment. It can be very handy to use server smart groups, use some cleanup server smart groups to pull in all those different values, and then you can rename or relabel or retag those server properties as a way to clean them up and make them more usable, to prevent you from having to put big arcane conditions on every single server smart group you start. Did we manage to touch how properties inherit in server smart groups?
No, sorry, Sean. Due to time restrictions, actually, I avoided that particular topic.
Okay. Yeah. So for anybody who's looking at this or for follow-up, that's definitely something to take a look at. Great. That's probably one of the biggest things that came in from 8.5 and later is the ability of those server properties to inherit so that you can stack smart groups.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that is the nested smart groups, right? That actually we showed during the time. Yeah. Okay. We did see that during one of the demos. Yes.
Thanks.
I think what we've learned here today, in addition to what Sumeet showed us, is that I need to invite Sean to come on and drill into some other topics here in the future for some of our future events. But we've hit the bottom of the hour, and I want to thank everybody for your time and attention. I apologize for the logistics of the call. I realize that it's not the smoothest thing with the Skype dial-in and all that. I'm working on getting an account with WebEx that will allow us to do audio and invitations and all that through that. So I appreciate you slogging through the friction in the process and showing up, your time and attention, and we'll look forward to seeing you again in a couple of weeks. So thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Thanks so much.
See ya.
Yeah.